Hey gang, it's Bryan from FXBilliards. Today we're going to talk about speed control because this is one of the most important things that's going to come up in your pool game. Speed control is the difference between you winning and losing almost every time you rack the balls and break them. If your speed control is out of whack, you're going to lose the game. So I'm going to give you 10 speed control issues and how to fix them. This is a very common one. Thin cuts. So we're on the strike balls here. The only shot we have is the 10 ball. We have a relatively thin cut. This is one of my favorite shots. I talked to you guys about the 45-degree angle. If we take an angle that looks like this and we need to cut this ball in this pocket, we have some issues we have to deal with. First off, we're only hitting about 15 to 20% of the ball. If I hit 20% of the object ball, only 20% of the speed that is on the cue ball is going to be washed off. If I hit 100% of the object ball, all of the speed that the cue ball is carrying is transferred to that object ball. If I cut this 10 ball in from here and I'm only hitting about 10 or 15% of it, only about 10 or 15% of my speed is being washed off. So if I hit this at 4 miles an hour because I need that ball to reach the pocket, trying to hold up for this 11 ball is a fantasy, but I see people trying to do it all the time. If I hit this shot just hard enough to reach the pocket and make it, it'll look something like this. This is a very difficult thing to hold up. So I got just about as close as I could get to being in line on this 11 ball. If I had a thinner cut, I'd have no chance at all. If I had a more solid shot, getting perfect position on that 11 ball would have been a lot easier. So keep that in mind. When you have these thin cuts, guys, if you want to make that object ball reach the pocket, you got to hit it at a certain speed, which means you've got to put that speed on the cue ball, and it's not going to be scrubbed off. I see guys do it all the time. Thin cuts, they're hitting it like it was everything else. The cue ball is flying around the table. Similar situation, magnified difficulty. We're on the 15 and we need to get on the 11. We cannot hit this 15 hard enough to reach the pocket and soft enough that our cue ball stays in the zone where that 11 is still makeable. Plus, now we have the rail to deal with. The rail is going to reject the ball. Players always forget that the rail is going to reject the ball. You cannot hold up after making that 15 for the 11 ball. There's not that much touch in the world. So what do? You come off of that rail and then off of this rail and back up so you have shape on the 11 ball. Shot looks like this. No English on this. I'm going to put a touch of high left for only one reason. I don't want to hit this rail and I don't want to end up in this pocket. So I'm going to keep this a little bit straight, but watch how I let my stroke out on this. So I allow myself to straighten out the ball so that when I come down here, I'm perfect on the 11. Now, a couple things. First off, I made that shot a little bit more difficult with the outside English, but ending up in this pocket, I'm all against that, okay? Well, the bottom line is I have a zone from here to here where my 11 ball is makeable. So I don't have to have that kind of touch. You've got to let your stroke out, let your cue ball ride, use that speed that it's going to have and the rejection of the rails to your advantage. Let's look at something else. Here's the situation. We're on the solid balls. We've got the 4 on the side. This pocket is being blocked. Part of this area is being blocked, so we don't have a shot at the 4 here. Our 2 is on the rail. We just need to go 2, 4, 8. If you think you're going to come backwards, a lot of guys love that shot. Low left-hand English off this rail. You come this way. You're in a fantasy world if you think you're going to stop that cue ball and get a shot on the 4. You may come down here and play the 4 down there, and I'd have to ask you why you want to do that when the 4 is sitting in front of the side pocket. So what you want to do is play this with high right, come off of 3 rails, and get relatively straight on the 4. It doesn't even matter if we overrun the 4, and I'll show you why in a second, but this is what you want to do. High right hand English. Good follow through. We come off of those 3 rails, and we have a shot on the 4. Now you might say, Bryan, I'm on the wrong side of the 4. I'm going this way. Well, buddy, it's the same shot, okay? It's the exact same shot, and we have a straight shot on an 8 ball that's practically in the pocket. So what happens far too often? Our player who knows that shot and knows he wants to get in a zone, a very wide zone, where he needs to make the 4 ball. He knows to come off of 3 rails, shoots a shot that looks like this. Comes down table and far, far overruns his position. What did he leave himself here? America's favorite scratch shot, right guys? Well, any shot where you're coming off of the rails, anticipate that there's going to be more speed than seems natural. Thin cuts, using rails, English. 3 main reasons people misjudge the speed on shots. Let's look at a couple other things. You ever have an easy run out like this and mess it up because of speed control? All you have to do is draw back a little bit and get on to 14. All you have to do is follow a little bit and get on to 8. But what happens? You draw back too much on the 12. And you're no longer on the 14. You have something that looks like this. It's not a good shot. Those short little draw shots, if you don't have them in your game, you better get them in your game. The reason your speed control with these short draw shots is out of line is because your draw shot is out of line. If you cannot hit a soft draw shot, you don't have a draw shot. This is all about follow through. It is very simple. You need to follow through on this shot, you need to hit it low, and you need to hit it well, and then you can hit it soft. When you can hit it soft, you can play the proper position as you move from one ball to the other. If you are not confident, if 10 out of 10 times you can't play that side pocket shot and get on that corner pocket shot, then you have an issue. If you're one of those bangers that slams the hell out of every draw shot, you don't have a draw shot guy, okay? You don't have to hit a draw shot hard to draw the ball back. And if you do, you will never have that kind of speed control. Get those short, soft draw shots in your game. Hey gang, we'll be back to the video in a second, but I just wanted to remind you, make sure you check out our master classes on pool. You can visit FXBilliards.com for more information. Welcome back. Let's look at speed control as it relates to cluster management. As you can see here on the right of our screen, we have balls that are clustered up. A lot of players who know to go after these clusters will use that 11 to come off the rail and try to break up this cluster. But let's take a look at what happens if you miss the cluster. Because most players are going to hit this ball too hard, whether they break the cluster up or not. And now they find themselves all the way down the other end of the table simply because of the speed that they put into this cluster. Very often, when they do manage to hit the cluster, they create additional problems for themselves. You have to keep in mind, guys, that when we're breaking up clusters, we're not trying to secondary break the balls. All we want to do is rearrange them. If you put too much speed on the shot, even if you break it up and you send your cue ball down to the other end of the table, this is not a lot of help. Get in the habit of just touching the balls. You spend time learning how to execute these shots, finding the angles where you know you can actually hit the ball. Make sure you're hitting them in a way that you're just simply rearranging the balls. So let's take a look at a better way to execute this shot. All we're going to do here is touch the balls. Keep our cue ball in the same sector of the table as our object balls. And also, if we were to miss the cluster, we wouldn't find ourselves so far down table that we wouldn't have an opportunity to play a safety if needed. So watch your speed on your cluster breaks, because a lot of people think that they have to break the balls up and send them flying all over the place, and that's just not the case. Another very common speed control issue is when a player is making a transition from a larger table to a smaller table. Now, this is a substantial difference in size. If you look at the space that a 7-foot table takes versus a 9-foot table, even the best players in the world will very often overrun their position. So a very simple position play like this, where we're just going around this 14 ball, can become difficult when you have a change in table size. So keep this in mind. The recommendation that I can make to you guys is, before you shoot the shot, literally turn your head and look at the table and let the size register in your head before you take the shot. So what are some of the other things you can do to improve on your speed control? One of them is to shorten your bridge. A lot of times players are overshooting shots simply because they have too long a bridge and they're putting too much acceleration on a shot. If you have a shot like this, where you normally would shoot it, let's say with a 12-inch bridge, and you shoot it down table and need to stop in a very specific area, that's going to add some difficulty. What we're going to do here now is shorten our bridge, and this will give us a little bit more control as far as where we're hitting the ball, how hard we're hitting it, exactly where on the cue ball we're hitting it, and it will allow us to have a little bit better speed control. So you're going to need to experiment with this, guys, but practice shooting with a shorter bridge when your speed control has to be a little bit more touchy. Here's a situation that we talk about often on the channel, and it's actually one of those situations you simply cannot address too many times because it is so important in a game of pool. Here we're on the 4 ball. We need to get on the 5. Very often players are going to try to shoot a follow shot, come off the short rail, move down table to get on that 5 ball while they're crossing the shot line. What is a much better shot would be to shoot this shot with follow. Come down the table after coming off of the short rail and the long rail and moving in line with the 5 ball. The better position we get on the 5 ball will also allow us to have simple position to get on the 8 ball. This is a very simple but very powerful concept that a lot of players just simply don't have. They don't see these lines that move them into line with their next shot. So what happens if the balls are in a different configuration and we have to go to the other side of the table to play our 5 ball? We're simply going to reverse everything, play a draw shot this time where we come off of 2 rails and move directly in line with the 5 ball, which is going to put us out. So the shot looks like this. This is low right hand English. We come off of 2 rails. We're moving directly in line with this 5 ball, and we should have no trouble being out from here. Hit the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Hit me in the comments. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon. And once again, hit the subscribe button. Did I just say that? Yeah, I said it again.